What is up today, guys? We're back. Way too long since we've done a review. As you can see today, we got an LS1 GTO. This car belongs to my buddy Dustin. There's a pretty big story behind this car. Some pretty insane stuff has happened. But yeah, so we'll get right into it. Hey guys, so today we're back for another review. It's been way too long. Reviews are probably my favorite thing to do. Today we're at my buddy's Dustin's LS1 GTO. So if you know, they were out, I don't know a ton about these cars. I know they were more of an Australian Holden GM conglomerate. But I know in the early couple years, in the early 2000s, they came with an LS1 and later they came with the 6-liter, the LS2. So this car, I remember, we had one of these when I was in tech school. And that car was, I remember I'd always you didn't see too many of these things, and I was always kind of curious, and I remember just being royally disappointed. So the one we had at school didn't even have like a VIN number or anything. It was just like a test car that was given to the school because otherwise they'd have to destroy them, so they donated it. That particular car was kind of a dud. It was just like this. It had the LS1. It had a 6-speed manual transmission, which to me is the only way to buy one of these types of cars. But it was just kind of a dud. It was bone stock, and I remember taking it out in the parking lot, screwing around with some of my classmates, and I just remember being like really disappointed. It just seemed dead. Everything seemed dead about it. Just shifting it felt like dead weight. The steering felt gross. It felt big. That's one of the things with, I think, all these GM cars that I've driven, is that to me, compared to a lot of other cars, they always seem really big. Like if you drive an F-body, I feel like that car's eating me, and you can like feel the weight of the car. And I don't mean that it feels slow. It feels like a big car. Its presence is kind of known when you're driving it. It feels big and heavy. And this kind of has some of that, but I think that factored into that car at school just doing nothing for me. I didn't like it. But this isn't that car. So this car, my buddy Dustin has quite a story. So when he first got it, it was bone stock for the most part, stockish, and he went online and actually met him at Toyota and through kind of our local car scene, I guess. But he went online and he found a rear mount turbo kit for this car. So he bought it, and I remember like my first initial thought when I saw it at work was, oh my god, what did you buy? It looked terrible. And at the time, me and a couple other buddies rented a shop in town not too far from work, and he brought it over, and we used a Harbor Freight welder, and we made an entire new rear mount system for that car. And Jamie did, I say we, I mean Jamie, our buddy Jamie did almost all of it, and it had an external oiling system that they had a CNC cover with a goat, it was like a mix of Satan's face and a goat, and he welded baffles in this container and put this cover riveted and RTV down on it. It was awesome. That was mounted in the trunk. And the thing sounded like a goddamn jet taking off. And before we could ever get it tuned, they couldn't keep any seals in it. Like, it just kept blowing oil seals out. The oiling system, I think the pump was too big, and it was causing a bunch of pressure. It would blow out seals, and you could literally see oil coming through the back. And Jamie, it was really sad, because Jamie was so proud of that, and then it just ended up getting ripped off. Dustin got mad. This is one of my favorite roads here. If you watch the Stealth video, this is that road that I took the Stealth on. I love it. Absolutely love it. That Stealth video is like one of my favorite, or one of my first reviews, and I watch it, and I just think it looks disgusting. But I remember being in that car when I'm riding on this road here. This is like my favorite road to take cars on. And then, like any car, 6 gears, like a cruising. It has that big, heavy feeling. This particular GTO is not stock. He actually sent it back to Jamie again, and I remember Jamie always like, it's Project Ram the Goat. So this car got a bigger cam. So it had the 243 heads, which came on the 6-liter cars, and it was all ported and polished, and got an upgraded valve train, upgraded springs, and it got a 228R cam. And I love cams, guys. There's two noises that are my favorite when it comes to cars, and that's boost noises, turbo noises, supercharger noises, and cam. And this thing, when you're sitting at idle, it sounds it's not like super aggressive, but you can feel the car kind of has this like little shake to it, and it kind of reminds me of like a popcorn machine, but not too poppy. It's kind of like it's a baby popcorn machine. So anyway, we got the we got the upgraded heads with pork polish and all the upgraded valve train, that 228R ground cam, and it's got this rip shifter, which I'm told was made by like an Australian company, GMM, I think that's what it's called. It's an aftermarket short shifter, and from what I'm told, from what I understand, it's like a $500 and some shifter, and it's from Australia. And like I said, this whole car was like kind of a holding conglomeration with GM. So, and speaking of that, that's one of the things I love about these cars. I always felt like the interior felt so nice on these. The seats, the dash, everything just looks nice and upgraded from the cars of the time. I mean, if you were to get in this and then go get in an SN95 Mustang, you'd think that's trash. And I mean, they were in comparison to almost anything. Other than that, though, it's got long tube headers, it's got poly mounts and bushings almost everywhere. It's got the nice wheels, which kind of always amazes me. Like, it just amazes me how much wheels can improve the look of a car. I mean, it's just super drastic, and I love these wheels on this thing. It's got poly bushings and mounts almost everywhere, so you feel a lot of the car and you feel a lot of the road. And then it's also got 391 gears and a rebuilt rear end in it. Let's just roll on to it a little bit here. Rolling on. Yeah, this is a lot better than that one from the tech school. So this car on a Mustang dyno made 350 horsepower to the rear wheels. So corrected from what I've been told about Mustang dynos, that they're usually pretty conservative. So the tuner said adjust that to about 400 wheel horsepower is what he would say. Get a little roll from second gear. Yeah, this car's a lot better than the one from the tech school. A lot better. It just, even not just in terms of like acceleration, it just feels like it has a lot. It just feels like it has a lot more personality. I just remember that car from the tech school, like the throttle response and everything, just feeling really. I just remember the throttle response and everything from that car from the tech school. It just felt really dead, and I kind of hated that. This shifter definitely feels different. This GM rip shift or GMM, whatever it is. This rip shift, it's I want to say notchy, but it's not. To me, it doesn't feel super notchy. When I think notchy, I think like the GT500s I've driven with that Hurst shifter in them. Those things are super notchy, and depending on the day, I mean, usually I kind of like that. This feels that way, but it also feels like heavier, if that makes sense. So it's like, to me, the Shelbys, when you're shifting, they're really notchy, like right at the end when they engage, but in between it, it's almost like a hard, easy, hard. It's almost like there's two different feels. There's the pre-engagement, and then there's the engagement point. So this car, this shifter feels a little smoother throughout like the transition of your shift. But you can definitely tell it's a short throw shift. I just, these cars were kind of weird. I mean, it's definitely like a muscle car, kind of modern muscle, but it came before the modern muscle wars were kind of a thing, and I don't know, a lot of people loved it, a lot of people hated it. I really like it, and I think, honestly, a lot of what I like is the interior. I really like where I'm sitting. So I think this car, just to me, this is going to sound weird, but I think to me this car feels like if an F-body was just a little better. Like, and I don't just mean the interior, I just mean everything about it. Like, it still feels heavy, but it feels heavy like it's planted to me. Like, it feels like it's just solid with the ground and with the road. Whereas the F-body, I don't know if it's how you sit or what. And I mean, they're great cars, they're fun, they're fast. I've had buddies that have quite a few of them, but I just feel like I'm so tiny in those things. And like, I just have to do what the car says, kind of, because it's so huge. This car, it still feels bigger than like when I drive like Mustangs and stuff like that. It feels bigger and more planted than that, but it's like right in between those two things. There's a sheriff, act natural. All right, so we're fine. So if I had it my way, most sports cars, and like I like all-wheel drive and turbos and all that stuff, but my favorite is rear-wheel drive, stick shift type of car. Now, and it doesn't have to be American; it can be just about anything. But I really like this. It can go fast if you want it to go fast, and to me, this is like the perfect amount of power. In a street car, I really like that 400 wheel horsepower, 400-ish wheel. I like that 400-ish wheel horsepower because it's not unmanageable. The Shelby I drove with 662, so I think they were putting more like 590 to the ground, something like that. 590 horsepower, so almost a full 200 horsepower more than this car, and it's just unmanageable. I feel like on the street it's hard to hook up and it's hard to control. So to me, 400 is really like that sweet spot, and it just amazes me how different this car feels from that one I drove at school. And I feel like when people say that, everyone thinks we just mean like power, but I don't just mean the power. I just mean like this car has more personality to it. It just has more of a story. And with the turbo and the rear mount and now this car certainly has a story. And I feel good about it because Jamie still got to do something, right? He was so proud of that rear mount turbo setup, and then it just got ripped off. I want to do one more roll. Just roll on. I don't know if that's another cop or not. But it just, like I said, it just amazes me that like not just the power that doing modifications add, but it just seems to add more personality to a car. I mean, the one I drove in school was boring, and this thing doesn't feel boring like that. God, this is the kind of car that, I mean, I just feel like I could cruise around in this thing all the time, and it's comfortable. I've driven quite a few cars that are faster than this, but they're not comfortable, and they're not, you can't just sit back and enjoy it. After you've had fun and you want to be lazy for a little bit, you can't do it in a lot of the cars. This car does a pretty good job of that. Yeah, I'm a fan of the shifter. I like the shifter. I love that rear-wheel drive squat you get. Just a stick shift and a rear-wheel drive. It's my favorite. This car kind of makes me sad because it's just so comfortable. And I know that this was a Holden, an Australian car that GM rebadged and brought to the States. And I mean, look what Camaro did. It looks like a goddamn catfish. I mean, okay, that might piss some F-body guys off. I'll go there with Mustangs too. Look at the SN95. Look at the Fox body. Those things did look nothing like the classic cars. So I don't really think there's anywhere to judge on this thing. And I think they look nice. They're simple, and I think it's a clean-looking car, especially with a set of wheels. It makes me sad because I wish that we would have seen more of this stuff from Holden. Because, I mean, honestly, like, this time period wasn't good for any American car company as far as the interiors go. And this interior is really nice. Like, the seats, everything just feels, to me, just seems more high-end. I mean, there's some plastic in here, but everything just feels nice and like it was well done, and they actually gave a crap about what they were doing. So I can't say enough good things about the interior. I think everything is just well executed, and I wish we would have seen more of it. And it's truly just kind of an enthusiast car. There's nothing fancy about it. It's a V8 and it's rear-wheel drive, and that's what makes it fun. It's simple. And the amount of things you can do to an LS are just endless. I mean, I'm not a huge LS guy. I don't know a ton about them, but there's so much aftermarket that your possibilities are endless. I don't think you could really get bored modifying one of these cars because there's always something else you can do if you want to switch it out and go for something different. As far as getting some of those Holden cars, though, I mean, I think in Australia the Solstice and the Saturn version, the Sky or whatever it was, I think those were an Opal. I think those were Opals over there. But I think they might have had a couple cooler cars that we just don't get here. But that's a lot of cars, guys. I mean, in America, we miss out on a lot of the cool cars. When I was in Italy, there were so many cool little pocket rocket tuner cars there. And I mean, the Falcon was in Australia for a while. There's a lot of cars we don't get. All right, guys. So thanks for coming along. I finally got to review the GTO. It's been a long time since I got to do a car review, and I'm really glad that this one finally worked out. Drop a comment, like, subscribe. See you next time.